Welcome back to Local 4 News Midday. I'm here with Captain Joseph Irvin with the Salvation Army in Hastings. And Captain, your organization is hard at work helping people recover from the floods in Texas. What can you tell us about that?
So that's something where we have plans in place, and often we are even part of the contingency plans for disasters in different areas. So the Salvation Army in Texas was already responding immediately after the event happened. They had their mobile kitchen set up, and even the 5th, so July 5th, they were already serving about 1,000 meals and almost 7,000 drinks for that one day. So making sure that the first responders that were hard at work could be able to focus on the tasks that they needed to focus on. They didn't have to worry about thinking, okay, well, I need to step away, find a meal somewhere in the middle of all this. They knew that they could go to the Salvation Army's disaster relief trailer, get something to eat, so then they could hit back in serving and addressing the needs.
And how does that disaster relief work, say, down in Texas, helping them recover from the floods?
Sure. So across the U.S., the Salvation Army has different departments that are set up, and they are ready to go at a moment's notice whenever they're activated to be able to get out to whatever disasters we're called to. And so often that is with what we call our canteens, essentially mobile kitchens. That's one of the very first things that we make sure to provide assistance with is food and hydration services. And then as we develop that response plan, that typically can be elevated. So I know in Texas they were working on getting shower trailers, bathrooms, and so those were also available on scene, making sure that clothing, flood cleanup kits were available. So all of these different logistics of getting supplies where they're needed to be able to meet the diverse needs. And so whether that's a fire or a flood or what have you, of course, a flood in this case, and trying to also make sure at the same time that the emotional, spiritual care is provided as well, because that's an important part, because this is just, it hits like a sucker punch, and there's just so much devastation, and so we also provide that relief as well.
And the Salvation Army has been a part of so many disaster relief operations just across the country. How important is that for the Salvation Army to be a part of that relief effort?
Well, as we see, we are called to meet need wherever, and that's part of our faith stance, is that it's not just about the emotional and spiritual and all of these things that are not physical, but then there's also the physical need as well. And the Salvation Army even started working to provide disaster relief in 1900, and when the massive hurricane hit Galveston, Texas. And so we recognize that, we look forward to a future beyond this earthly life, but in this earthly life, just as Jesus called us to do, there are physical needs that become apparent that we work to meet and address, as well as we care for others, because we love God, love others. That's our goal.
And real quick, how can people get involved with disaster relief down in Texas?
So that's something that is a little bit more involved. So typically it becomes being a part of a disaster team locally, wherever you are. So for here, being a part of our local Hastings disaster team. And then as they make a call for more volunteers for those larger scale events, then we are able to send volunteers to different locations. Sometimes that's also sending our unit out. We haven't been activated in that manner, but often that happens when there's a larger scale like this. Then you have volunteers coming from other different states who are trained and a part of their local Salvation Army disaster team, and they go to these larger events.
All right. Thank you so much, Captain Irvin, for that. And if you want to go the extra mile for others in the Local 4 is joining the effort to help those in Texas after the devastating floods, you can either scan the QR code on your screen or go to together4tx.com. Thank you so much, Captain Irvin.
Thank you for
I appreciate all the efforts you're doing down there in Texas. And stay with us. We'll have another check of your forecast after the break.